We're at God's country place, and the guilty ones gather. The motivated, perceptual consciousnesses determined to seek God. There's the crux of the teachings of Master Jesus in the Course. And they occur very early in one of the workbook lessons. Obviously nobody reads or reads at the level that they should begin to read now. It says, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Well, that's easy. We'll answer that perceptually. Then non-guilt would be heaven. Our problem doesn't really lie there, although let's all say that together. Guilt is hell. Non-guilt is heaven. The problem lies in your belief that guilt is indeed hell. Okay. Well, let's go to what a definition of guilt is. Okay. Guilt is linear time association. Guilt is the ordering of your thoughts and taking the assumption of the responsibility for associate perceptual mind. Okay. Being the authority of your mind is guilt. No. Guilt is hell. Why the necessity of the non-compromising statement that guilt is hell? Finally, all perceptual mind relationship is chaotic. That is, it's fleeting in time. It holds for a moment on associate ideas and then lose them. Hell is chaos. Heaven is perfect order. Do you see? The mind that operates on the assumption of itself in its limited association, okay, is guilty or in hell to begin with. In that sense, the earth, obviously the perceptual earth mind, is literally a condition of hell or a condition of chaos. The difficulty is that the divided mind, that is the persona, the notation of self in relationship to self, never really questions its own identity in association with ultimate reality. This occurs in the text, I believe, on page 244, and I'll read it to you for just a moment. You are accustomed to the notion that the mind can see the source of pain where it is not. Obviously, it feels the stress and tension of the pain. The doubtful service of such displacement is to hide the real source of guilt and keep from your awareness the full perception that it is insane. You are starting from an insane premise, but don't admit it. Displacement always is maintained by the illusion that the source of guilt from which attention is diverted must be true. And this is precisely what the human beings do in trying to determine their relationship with God. They are in an assumption that their associate ideas that establishes their existence or their reality is true. Okay. Our declaration is it is not true to start out, that it has no truth in the formulation. The whole nature of the singularity presentation of the Course in Miracles is that perceptual mind is not real, that the earth as you have devised it is not so, okay? That anything that is not forever has no reality, that anything that is fearful, okay, through associate thoughts is not real. And really, this is what this says. Displacement always is maintained by the illusion that the source of the guilt from which attention is diverted must be true and must be fearful, or you would not have displaced the guilt onto what you believe to be less fearful. This is the statement that perceptual mind is inherently fearful, isn't it? It's always in an existence. It's always fending itself from previous associate thoughts. But remember that the whole world is only previous. The whole world has actually passed away. You sit in a field of fearful memories, don't you? Oh, sure, okay. You are therefore willing to look upon all kinds of sources, provided they are not the deeper source to which they bear no real relationship at all. None whatever. Okay, ready? Insane ideas have no real relationships, for that is why they are insane. Okay? No real relationship can rest on guilt or the ordering of thoughts, or even hold one spot of it to mar its purity. Okay? For all relationships that guilt has touched are used but to avoid the person and the guilt. You've already set up your guilt and are sharing it in a limited ordering of your mind and your own self-identity in association with the false self. Why, is this pure? Huh? Is this what relationships on earth are? Of course. They start from the insane premise that you can be separate from everything. The whole notation of the ego mind or separate mind is that somehow you can establish your own bailiwick, your own kingdom, that you can be real outside of reality, using the power of that reality to deny yourself. What absurdity. For all relationships that guilt has touched are used but to avoid the person and the guilt. You really don't want to have a relationship. You've been trying to avoid him. Okay? Why? Because he represents your guilt. Well, what strange relationships you have made for this very strange purpose. And you forgot that real relationships are whole and cannot be used by you at all. They cannot be used by you at all. They are used by the Spirit, and it is that which makes them pure. Okay? If you preempt for your own ends what you should have given him, he cannot use it for your release. This is the whole notation of the workbook of the Course in Miracles, of stop judging. That it has nothing to do with whether your judgment is good or bad. It's a statement that your judgment is not real. Listen, no one who would unite in any way with anyone for his individual salvation will find it in that strained relationship. It is not shared, so it is not real. Guilt cannot really be shared, can it? Okay. In any union with a brother in which you seek to lay your guilt upon him, or share it with him, or perceive his own, you will feel guilty. Nor will you find satisfaction and peace with him, because your union with him is not real. It has nothing to do with whether it's painful or good, is it? You will see guilt in that relationship because you put it there. It is inevitable that those who suffer guilt will attempt to displace it because they do believe in it. Yet though they suffer, they will not look within and let it go, and they cannot know they love and cannot understand what loving is. Their main concern is to perceive the source of guilt outside themselves and beyond their control. This is the only teachings that I present to you, and these are the only teachings that you deny. I present to you my certainty that you, as an individual consciousness in your own conceptions, are not real. You have no source. You have denied your source and make an assertion of yourself in relationship with nothing. You literally have invented, what? Space and time in order to keep a distance between yourself or your mind and your previously constructed thoughts. What lovely notations these are from this assertion of whole mind and from our master teacher Jesus Christ. We're at God's country place, and we'll probably be back. Well, we seem to have a little dilemma here. When everybody came in, I said, you're ordering your thoughts, and obviously you're guilty, right? And if you're guilty, you're in hell, right? Is there a problem with this? That all of the consciousnesses, obviously, who order their thoughts are in time or in hell. Why? Because they're obliviated, and they suffer sickness, and they suffer pain, and they suffer loss. Isn't that a pretty good definition of hell? And you say to me, well, I don't suffer it all the time. Sometimes I have love and goodness and truth. And I say to you, well, then, why don't you have love and goodness and truth all the time? And you say, well, because I'm guilty. And I say to you, but you're only guilty because you order your thoughts. And you say, well, I choose to order my thoughts because my reality is based on ordering my thoughts. I say, well, then your reality is based on guilt, which is hell. Okay? Everybody got that? The thrust of the teaching, then, is that you have the power to change your mind, obviously, because you have the power to order your thoughts in the denial of your true relationship with everything, don't you? Okay. And you assert that power, all right, in order to what? Be sick, lonely, and die in association with the things you love. This is a real easy course, and it isn't hard. The problem is that you deny that you do it, that your reality is what, finally? Based on a denial of reality. The necessity to establish relationships of good and bad and pain and death are identifications with time or possibilities. Our assertion is that there is only love and good eternally and forever. Can you get this then by sharing these ideas or thoughts with the images that you have constructed outside yourself in hell? How could you? They are in hell for precisely the same reason. Okay. Our admonition then to you is that through your atonement or forgiveness, you will see them wholly in your own mind, or more directly, see simply that they are not real. That all self-identification is false, isn't it? How lovely. What an easy teaching, yet how difficult. We'll be back. No, but I'm having a little trouble with this. It looks to me like what you're saying then is that if I find anybody guilty of anything, I am in hell. It appears to me that reciprocity, or the exchange of ideas and limited association, is what hell is. Well, it seems to me that you're teaching there isn't any such thing as evil. I'm suspicious of you now. You're telling me that there is no value in evilness in association with good. That I will be perfectly good, okay, if I relinquish my guilt or the ordering of my own mind. And I say to you, this is precisely what I'm telling you. At this point, going to say that isn't possible. Why? Because you lack the trust and faith in the single reality that constitutes the universe. You're finally going to come to this. You're finally going to have to look at your own self-will, your determination to hold on to your own identity in association with something that you cannot conceive, without the notation, as we just directed you, that all conceptions are false and not necessary in the association with the love and truth that is really yours in eternity. Now, no matter how often you come to this point in the practice of your relinquishment of judgment, obviously, truth does not judge. Okay. If you judge, the aspects of false consciousness are always relationship judgments. Any course that did not direct you to forgiveness would be absolutely meaningless. Any course that did not direct you to acceptance of responsibility for your own thoughts in your own mind would be meaningless. Any course that did not state unequivocatingly that the power of your mind is what directs and channels associate thoughts, okay, in the history or framework of your genetic reality are absolutely meaningless. I say this to you for those of you who are suffering the pangs of hell, okay, which is what the earth is. Okay. For those of you who have looked about and see the things that are happening here, the death and the loneliness and the murder and the mayhem and the chaos, and are beginning to address the certainty that there must be another way. and actually entertain the notation that if you will relinquish your thoughts, there will come about in you a change in perception of the relationship of the guilt projections that you have placed outside yourself. Axiomatically, the simplest mechanism would be simply to accept the total guilt, which is total chaos, which is a statement, okay, of unqualified determination to seek light and love and truth, with a declaration, this is not real. I am under no laws but God's. The laws that I have established in perceptual relationships are not so. These are the lessons of Master Jesus in the Course in Miracles. They direct you to do nothing but relinquish yourself in your limited associations. All Christ teachings or whole teachings are only to this. There are only two possibilities: truth, which is certainty, and the notation that it is possible to come to truth, which is not true in reality, but is given you in time so that you can awaken from this dream of sickness and death that you're in. Okay. We'll be back. Well, I'm not sure I still like what you say. I'm running into a very serious problem now. If what you say is true, God, wholeness, love, eternal life, doesn't even know about this, cannot know of chaos and sickness and death. You're saying to me that I have constructed this in my mind, and that the mind that has constructed it is not real. Yeah. That must be so. This is the very, very fundamental teaching that wholeness does not know of separation, okay? And that separation or chaos or apparent disorder is not real. Strangely, the only way that absolute order can be brought to disordered mind is for the disordered mind to become totally disordered. Isn't that strange? We teach then within the perceptual mind operations of increasing order, where the mind expansion begins to include different thought forms in higher relationship ideas. This is the transformation of the perceptual mind, isn't it? Okay. Where the mind that is in disorder, okay, begins literally to function at a higher essence of reality, a brighter picture of its consciousness in association with the things that are apparently around it. It becomes creative. And this is the whole idea of evolution. Okay? So we're teaching rapid evolution of your consciousness mind to the certainty of your Christhood or whole thinking. Okay? We assert that since you have invented time, that you can make it last 1,000 million years or a single moment, but it will be all the same to eternity. Isn't that a lovely notion? Okay. And in no way will you find it outside yourself. Seek not truth outside yourself, for you will die, as Master Jesus says, by your determination to organize yourself in this death relationship. For some of you, there will be a great deal of relief in discovering that God is non-judgmental. For others of you who are set on patterns of right and wrong, it will be very difficult. The idea that God knows not of it, however, is a requirement for sane mind, because only split mind would believe that good and evil could coexist, okay? That chaos and order could be somehow side by side, without being detrimental to the idea of truth and love. The reason this is difficult is because it is the only difficult. If there is a God, okay, he must have created you, and he must have created you perfectly. If there is no God, if there is finally no wholeness, okay, you are limiting yourself to such an incredibly fearful view of your determination to annihilate yourself. Continue to do that if you wish. Those of you who are feeling the frustrations of getting old and wrinkled and dying might want to look at some of the assertions of Master Jesus that at no time is the body real at all. It's always either thought of in the past or anticipated in the future. And if just for a moment you would relinquish your perceptual associations, you would simply spring into reality, which is all about you. This was the end of chapter 18 in the text of the Course. There will be emerging some lovely new teachers of God who will actually begin to teach what Jesus says in this insertion of reality into the chaos and death that constitute Earth in this framework of perceptual time. They're actually going to begin to read what it says. So far they haven't, but you have to remember this. Basically, perceptual mind is very fearful of the teachings of any whole mind. How would it not be? Its reality is based on the denial of itself and its whole-mindedness, isn't it? You ready for that out there? Or are you going to continue to inflict more pain on yourself in your determination that there is some reality to death and heart disease and cancer? I declare to you that through the healing of your whole mind, that you're coming home, you'll heal theirs. These are the direct teachings of the Course. This is what the miracle is, isn't it? The change of your mind, okay, so that the images outside of you will become whole. Is this literally true? Well, of course. Of course. This is the teaching. The Earth is your construct. Yeah. Isn't that nice? You are going to, with continuing practice, bring the problem and the source of the problem together. And you'll feel great joy in the release of that guilt with the declaration that there is whole truth and beauty and love and universal consciousness. We'll see in a little bit. It's amazing. We're really looking at it together here. We're at the kitchen table in God's entry place. The necessity for the human being to be guilty is extraordinary. If guilt is ordering the thoughts, Master Jesus says you have an authority problem, but if you look at it in its raw truth, it's incredible. The consciousness literally does not want to see that it's whole. Okay, its whole associations is with its ultimate demise, that it's going to die. How absurd! Those of you progressing now in the awakening see the absurdity, and Jesus says the absolute hallucinatory associations of the dream of the world. They are only to be laughed at. This gnashing of the teeth that goes on, this determination for possession. To prove what? To prove the guilt of the consciousness and to find his brother guilty or responsible for that guilt. This is real fundamental teaching now. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? In no way will you find salvation except with the relinquishment of your own association thoughts. Is that being born again? Is that the death of the self? Is that turning your will and your life over to God or to a reality of God? It should begin to be fun for you, though. Why? Because you will see the results of true relinquishment. That's what a miracle is. Okay? The miracle is nothing but the removal of the obstacles of perceptual mind that you have established from seeing the light that shines directly and fully on you, behind this veil of death and guilt that you are determined to make real. And I say to you now, awaken from this dream of death and see that you are whole and have never left heaven. And we're together there out of time. And we but relive that single moment when you became guilty. The fall from heaven. I'm here to tell you, dear brother, that the fall was only a dream, that it is not real now, and that it was never real, and that you are contained in the notation of the fall. And this, and only this, will give you salvation or enlightenment. That'll be fun for you. And when you're attacked for it, just smile. So what? Look at the outcome of judgment. An outcome that is already being acknowledged by those who judge and construct this world of death. Be determined then not to be a part of this associate unreality. Understand that you are the dreamer of this dream, and that the power of your mind can be used to awaken you to reality, because that power is the power of the universe contained wholly in you. We'll see you soon. Perhaps we'll take one more look at this then, to look at what the key to remembering reality really is. Okay. It has to finally be the statement, all right, that the source of the apparent problem is not real. That if there ever could have occurred, all right, in eternity, a real schism, okay, of separation, all right, that it would be irreparable. That if there could be such a thing as real separation, okay, Jesus teaches directly, and all logical, reasonable minds teach that if sin or guilt is real, it's unforgivable, and it should be. If sickness is real, it's not healable. There'd be no possibility that it could be. And those of you in some sort of lucid mind can see this. That's why you can begin to direct your attention to the certainty that the remedy only defines the sickness in your determination to associate yourself with varying degrees of an existent reality until the framework of your limited association runs its apparent course. Okay. So, but remember that you have given reality then to time itself, to a progression of time. Okay. You are guilty then. Okay. You are guilty of the association of time. The teaching yesterday, when Master Jesus says, at no time is the body real at all, becomes valuable. It's always either thought of in the past or anticipated. And that the horrible situation that you actually find yourself in would become evident if you would stop covering your now and look for just a moment at the consequences that are being projected from your own thought systems. This is the teachings of the parting of the veil, of the looking at the defiled altar. But you have that very well guarded by all of your genetic memories, by your I Ching, the total possibilities of all separation in relationship with all separation, the 9-dimensional configurations of space-time in relationship to great rays of light reality. Of course. There's nothing that you guard more assiduously than guilt, the necessity to retain that moment of horror, separation that you found yourself. Now, it's important that you see that that moment is what this is. And then perhaps you can look at the certainty that this is not so, that this is not real. First, with the reasonable conclusion that all perceptual thoughts are past tense, that is, that this is all over. And second, with the master association and awakening that it never happened and it's not real and that you were only dreaming and have never left home. But as long as you continue to order your thoughts and find yourself in this association with death, you will never escape it. That's the necessity for you to come now and practice this new-mindedness, this new teachings of forgiveness, the continuing insertion of the energy that began 2,000 years ago. The man who remembered who he was. As Jesus says, I'm that half step ahead of you, but be assured that you did make that step. Not really subsequently, but with me, and in remembering that are you made whole. For indeed God has only one Son, and that Son must be you. For you to retain a separate identity outside of the fold of reality will become more and more senseless to you as you relinquish this death association that you have been so determined to hang on to. You are not guilty. And the reason you are not guilty is because sin and sickness and death are not true. There is nothing separate from reality because it is singular. These loving phrases are contained in the Course continuously. Jesus will make statements like, anything not in heaven is not real, therefore the earth is not real. The practice of letting go of your associate thoughts will lead you directly to that determination. That's what A Course in Miracles is. A course in enlightenment of your mind through the relinquishment of your false associations. This has always been the teachings, and it always will be the teachings, and nothing else but this is ever or would ever be taught by a true teacher. I know this is unequivocating, I know that it's uncompromising, but remember that truth knows not of this. Okay. We are dealing with an impossible situation. This literally did not occur. And you, as the dreamer of the dream, have the power to awaken now and see that in reality you never left heaven. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Heaven, of course. The realization that there is only one responsibility and you share in that in the totalness and the extension of your love will be very ecstatic for you and will cause you a great deal of happiness. But you must be willing to be found innocent. And since your reality is based on guilt, that's hard for you to do. Yeah. Not through being judged whole, but through the statement that all judgment is false. So look around you and see if you first accept the responsibility for this in your mind. This is really what you want it to be. Or are you still blaming your brother or God or something else for the chaos that is evident in this time framework, in this association? We're here at God's Country Place at the kitchen talking about reality. How joyous it is now to see these whole minds coming together and making assertions that indeed there is an authority or a creator in which we share our reality. Is that too tough an admission for you, brother? Would you still like to not look at the outcome of everything that has occurred in this moment of horror? We're tapping you gently on the shoulder now and saying, it's time to wake up. All of this was only a nightmare. You're seeing it more and more clearly now. now as you become determined not to undergo another death experience. Many of you now are hearing these tapes and are simply making statements of eternity, are coming to see that he that believeth unto me will never die, not that he will die and have subsequent reality, but the reality is here and now in the declaration that death is impossible. In the admission that you have invented time. Okay, it can shorten it immeasurably by your determination to live in an eternal modality, right to the point of debarkation, to the return to the light, containing all of you, nothing left out. Wow. We'll be with you. Perhaps we'll have just a couple of moments of meditation here now while we practice just a moment of this non-guilt. Relinquish ourselves to that light that's all about us. Into your presence I would enter now. Let it go now, teacher. It never happened. Relinquish the responsibility for your thoughts now. Just turn them over. All around you, angels hover. Take you home on this glorious Easter. You spring out of the hell of self-identity into new certainties, creation of God, wholeness and truth. Try not to be guilty in this happiness that you're beginning to feel. You have a tendency to be non-entitled, defensively, perceptual, death ritual. I assure you that you have never left the single source of all reality. You are entitled for what you are, not for what you think you are or have done. They have no meaning. Have visions now. Use use this unity energy as visions, operation of increasing order going on in your mind. Each moment make an acknowledgement of this miracle, this transformation that's going on. You leave nothing out of it. It becomes a single full endeavor, a single purpose. Watch how rapidly you suddenly find yourself awake in the light of reality. It was only a dream of death. Be thankful that you need not be responsible. You are innocent and thereby invulnerable. All power is in non-defense. Watch it come forward in the light of the true you as you step back. Those who judge will be guilty one day, for they but judge themselves. Yet judgment is not an attribute of reality. All attributes are delays in time. You need do nothing. We find you then not guilty. Not because of reparation, but with the certainty that no crime was committed. Stop trying to give value to the idea of sin. If you continue to do so, as Master Jesus says, it's going to take you a very long time to get out of here, because it is not